Hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. You've seen these movies before that we're going to get into. It's a Wonderful Life and The Christmas Carol.
Yep.
But perhaps you haven't thought about them the way that we're going to be unpacking them here today. And there is great richness and depth. If you've ever found yourself watching these movies or reading these stories and something is welling up inside you, we want to help you get in touch with that and get a little bit of clarity because the Lord is speaking through these seemingly secular movies. There's a great, beautiful Christian message that's in them.
So many lessons.
You have eyes to see.
Yep. So many lessons, so many metanoia moments. And so we're going to be picking those up. And also just kind of talking about what are the inner workings of the characters. It's a fun one. I think you guys will enjoy it. And join us and Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. If you're listening to this on Christmas Eve when we're releasing, want to stay with a good Christmas theme, holiday theme here.
Yes.
And we're excited about this one.
We are going to break down 2 Christmas classics.
Yes.
2 Christmas classic stories, mainly done in, I've never read mine, even though it's like hundreds of years old. I think it's a long time, but they made stories about them. I mean, movies about them, these stories. So we're going to be talking about movies.
Yeah, we're going to be breaking down our favorite Christmas classics. Mine is going to be It's a Wonderful Life. Erin, what do you got?
I got The Christmas Carol.
Okay, fantastic. All right. And so our goal here is to really dive into these movies and have a little metanoia at the movie experience where we identify what is the big shift that takes place interiorly in the character. Again, falling back on one of my favorite authors, Matthew Dix. He wrote the book Storyworthy and Story Cell. I've been revisiting those again. And what he does so well is he breaks down just the elements of storytelling. And he talks about the 5-second transformation in every character, really that makes a story a story. Somebody thought one way and all of a sudden they have a shift and they think a different way. They were acting one way and they've changed their life and they're going someplace else for the better, right? For the most part, it's for the better. Sometimes it's for the worse, right? But for the better. These are the stories that really stick with us. And what I love about this is it really captures those metanoia moments. What he calls a 5-second transformation, we call those metanoia moments. That moments where there's a shift interiorly and the person is changed forever, right? Yeah,
because the word metanoia actually means, well, it means repentance, but also it means conversion. So like, when are you shifting your path? When are you refocusing your goal or just changing directions?
Yeah.
And so I also love watching movies with the idea that the greatest story ever told, like we can never top the greatest story ever told, which is Jesus coming to earth, saving us. You know, if you're into superhero movies, you can see this reflected in all of those, but also just how every other story is like a little bit in piece. If it's a good story, there's a little bit in piece. There's like little bits and pieces of that greatest story ever told. And so even just learning how to watch movies and to read stories with that lens of there's some lesson in this, there's some redemptive part of the story.
There's somebody that's entering into and receiving the gift of the greatest story ever told.
Yep.
Right? They're moving from a place of orphanhood to a place of, I'm a beloved son and daughter of God.
Or a place of victimhood to the hero. Right. Like,
again, a beloved son and daughter of God. Like it's a full of entry into the spirit of adoption that St. Paul talks about. And I think these stories really capture it really well.
I do too. And I think also it's like neither one of these stories are about Jesus being born. Even though that is what the Christmas season is about.
Yep.
And so we are not ignoring that, but there's like glimpses of this story throughout.
You can't get away from it.
You can't.
You just can't. It's just written in our hearts. And so it shows up this theme again and again and again. And of course it is because it's written on our hearts. And it's why I would argue we resonate so deeply with some of these stories we're going to be exploring today. I mean, the Christmas Carol, think about how many versions that has gone through and how many tellings of that it has gone through.
I would say that's probably the most adapted story, Christmas story, besides Jesus being born. But you can't really, you got to get that one right. You know, you can't be like changing the main characters or anything. But yeah, the Christmas Carol story has been probably adapted.
Oh, it's such a beautiful story of redemption here.
Yeah.
And so we're two secular movies, stories that we're going to be diving into. We're going to talk about the key characters, what each one of these characters represents, what are some of the key themes that are showing up here, getting into the tension also that these characters are experiencing, and finally, what's the transformation that they go through. And so if you love these two stories, A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life, I pray that this may just help you to enter deeper into the real beauty of these things and maybe even understand what's the shift that you're experiencing as you're watching each one of these movies this Christmas.
Yeah, like understand why you're drawn to these stories.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also maybe you can like walk away with some meta skills of how to watch movies in the future. Because whenever there is a good story, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. All right. As mindset coaches, we love capturing the metanoia moments, the mindset shifts. Okay. Want to start with mine?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Now, warning, the last time we went into one of my favorite movies like this, we had to like hit pause a couple of times as it was just like
both of us couldn't stop crying.
Yeah, and this is one It's a Wonderful Life. There are like at least 3 scenes every time I watch it, and I'm like
I leave. My sanguine heart cannot take all the tragedy that happens to George Bailey, so I leave. Matt's like, is this the time where you just walk out of the room? I'm like, yep. I'll be back when.
She's like, do we have to watch that this year? She's
better.
like, I'm good. I'm good for a good decade. It's Wonderful Life. But I love it. I love it. I was just watching a scene that I'd love to start with here that gets into this. So quick summary of the story. Main character is this guy, George Bailey, lives in this small town called Bedford Falls. Mm-hmm. And he's like a big fish in a small pond. He just has these big desires on his heart, and he constantly wants to do something big. He wants to get out of the small town. And the whole premise is that there's God and Joseph are in heaven, and they're talking about how they need to intervene in this guy's life because and send his guardian angel Clarence to help him out because he's at a moment of crisis. Okay?
Did you say God and Joseph?
Yeah, it's
Saint Joseph.
Yeah, Saint Joseph, right?
Oh. It's been a while since I watched the movie. I'm just picking that up.
We got like the 2 biggest father figures.
I love
ever.
that.
Yeah, because it really is a movie.
And by the way, there's
fatherhood.
Spoiler alerts all throughout this. So if you haven't watched these movies, pause this and go watch them.
Jeez, where you been?
Yes.
Okay. So if we even just start with the key, so the whole premise is like, how do we get George to have eyes to see the goodness that's in front of him, right? The invitation to really step into the life, not necessarily that he thinks he wants, but the better one that's being presented to him that's so beautiful. And it's really the wonderful life for him to have vision, the eyes to see the wonderful life that's right in front of him.
Nice.
And so our characters right here in the beginning, we got George Bailey, certainly. We've got his wife, Mary, who's this constant figure throughout. And oftentimes in these films and these stories, you'll see this constant figure that's there throughout, that's always inviting the person into some sort of transformation, but they are walking with them. They're loving them in their brokenness or where they're going astray. They just love. They're so abiding with this person.
I love that her name is Mary too.
So appropriate here. Yeah, it's already getting me choked
Mary
up.
Marian.
We've got George's father, all right, and he plays a small part in the movie, but he's a very significant character. And then I'd say the other really quintessential character is Clarence, right? The guy that shows up, the guardian angel, eventually intervenes, and he's only like in the latter third of the movie that he actually shows up.
I would also add one more. His brother. George Bailey's brother. I don't know what his name is.
Interesting. Harry Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not in the movie too much. I'm curious why you think he's like not an important part.
He's a key figure, but keep going.
Okay. You'll get back to that. Okay. And so if we look at the tension again that George is experiencing, big dreams, and he feels stuck in this small town life. And it's really comes out right in the beginning where he's sitting at the table and he's with his father, and they're just dining. His brother's always active, doing something fun, getting ready to go off to a school dance. And his dad starts asking him about his future plans, right? Just knowing how ambitious his son is. And his son just says, oh, I know what I'm going to do after college. And he's delayed going to college at this point to work at his father's business, the building and loan. And all it does is it generates, mortgages, makes it easy for people to buy a home, right? And have a dignified life. And, his dad says, well, or George is like, I want to build skyscrapers. I want to do all these amazing things. And his dad's just like, well, there's a small hope that you might come back to the building and loan.
Yeah.
Right. And he says to him, like, I just don't know if I could return to this life of nickels and dimes and saving 3 cents on a length of pipe. I think I would lose my mind. I want to do something that has an impact. I want to do something that really is meaningful. And his father responds and gives a little bit of a nod, a little bit of a glimpse of where the story is going. Because his father says to him, well, Lord, or George, I'd like to think in that small, shabby office that you talk about, that we actually are making a difference. We're enabling something that this fundamental drive in a man's life to provide for his family, to have a home, to have a fireplace, to have warmth and a shelter. We're doing it in a way where he's able to live that dignified life.
Yeah.
And George kind of pushes back and he just says, hey, if I get it, I think it's beautiful, but you know what? I think if I stayed here, I would bust. And his father, just such a good father. And I get glimpses into a little bit of the story of the prodigal son here, which I know we were talking about this last night, Erin. You brought this up. And his father says to him,
the older brother of the prodigal son.
His father says to him, you're right, son. You're right. In this town, there's unless you're going to be willing to crawl to Potter, there's no real life and opportunity for anybody. It's best that you just go get an education and you get out of here. And there's this really touching moment where the father kind of lets go of the rope and says, you're free to do whatever you want to do, and I bless it. George says, you know what, Dad? You want to hear a shock? I think you're a swell guy. And there's just this moment where this father is just sitting there kind of content in the delight of the son, but at the same time, you could see still the longing in his face that his son will someday see the beauty of what he knows from having lived this life of sacrifice and paved the way for his son to enter in it, and longing for his son to embrace that. Now, later on that evening, his father dies. And so we have the final words, the final blessing of the father in that moment. And George starts to reluctantly say yes throughout the movie to these invitations to enter into this life of self-sacrifice.
And he has up until that point. His whole life has kind of been built on that.
Right.
It goes back to his childhood.
You hear the backstory, right? Where really it highlights all of these sacrifices that he made. He sacrifices his hearing to save his brother from drowning. He sacrifices, he gets a beating, right? To step in and save, this kid from being prescribed this poison medication in the drugstore. He even sacrifices going to college at first, to be able to afford going to his college because his parents can't save for it. And he's like, I've been hoarding pennies and dimes just to be able to do this. He sacrifices to delay college even further, and he takes all the money that he saved up after his father dies, and he steps into his father's position, and he gives his money to his brother Harry to go to college. And then he sacrifices this desire to leave, and he marries the hometown girl, right? Even on their wedding day, he sacrifices their honeymoon by intervening and taking all the money that they had saved up to even just get a little taste of this life that he wants. And he and his wife are so willing to sacrifice it and give it so that to keep this business going. Even when his brother comes back and he's supposed to take over the business, his brother gets offered a better job, and George says, take it. And he stays at the building and loan. And even to the point at the end where he's facing bankruptcy and scandal, this is the point where he finally prays, and the way he sees it, he gets punched in the mouth for it. And so in for his entire life, the Lord is just putting George in the school of sacrifice, right? And at this point where Clarence shows up to intervene, he's bitter. He feels alone. He feels abandoned. He feels orphaned. He's out of ideas. He's out of solutions. He's at his rope's end, and he's contemplating taking his own life.
Yeah. Can I add to this?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it, babe.
Because I see this a lot in coaching. And whenever I'm like watching a character, I don't even know how they build characters, but I feel like maybe I've like missed my calling because I think I would be really good at it. Now knowing how people's brains work.
Character development.
Yes. But I would so if I were coaching George Bailey and I would be like finding out, okay, so like you've lived this life of sacrifice. It doesn't feel good. Let's be honest. Like we aren't like we're meant to sacrifice for others. But what is that point that brings you to that point of despair where you almost kill yourself? Like something is off here. Something is off here. And so as a mindset coach, obviously I'm not working with people who are contemplating suicide. However, I would be like, where did that go wrong? Right? Because we are called to be like the Lord and come closer to him and sacrifice like him. And I do believe that that is a source of joy, actually. But how can we shift? Like, where did it go wrong? That's my question.
There's a scene that really captures that in the movie, and it's where George and his wife they're outside the home of this immigrant family. Remember the guy the owns the drug. The thing is Martini, right?
Yes.
And he's this Italian guy, and he's so proud to have a home. And he's like, see this? I don't rent. I own this home. So you see the pride in him. And they are outside, and the whole community is there as they're blessing this home, and they're giving them wine so that they always will experience joy. And they're giving them, they're giving bread. I'm seeing the Eucharistic ties here, blessing the home so that they will never know hunger. And there's just such joy in the community, and it's disrupted when Sam Wainwright drives up in his nice car and his nice clothes and with the beautiful girl with the pearls, and just starts kind of taunting George, kind of like playfully. But Sam Wainwright, who's another character, is this the picture of the life that George could have had. He's the guy that leaves. He makes big money. He travels the world. He's got everything that he wants. And it's just dangling, and it just dangles that life in front of his face. And you see George as Sam rides away. He kind of has his arm around Mary at first, and they just kind of watch as he drives off. And then George just goes up to his car, and he just kicks the door shut. And suddenly it's just like he has this life that he thinks he wants dangled in front of him again. And what does it do? It blinds him to the joy that he was just experiencing in that simple moment right there.
Yeah. It's so in the coaching world, you would call that scarcity mindset or gap mindset. You know, there's the gap and the gain, and it's just like, I don't have this yet. I need this to feel better.
Well, it's just, there's envy in it too.
Envy. I also think that when we give from a place of depletion, which does show up in feeling like a sorrow and giving stuff away. Not saying that there isn't a natural sorrow from our concupiscence from giving stuff away, right? Like being like, I'm sad about that, but almost like a resentment. There's that envy. I think there's also what might be happening is there's maybe an ungodly self-reliance behind that, a pride even behind that. Whenever you're giving from a place of depletion and not going to the source of who gives you joy, which is the Lord, obviously. None of these are like overtly Christian stories. So
well, we know that he doesn't pray. Right. Like we know that because it's not until he's sitting in the bar that he says, Lord, you know, I'm not a prayerful man, but help me. Nope. Help me. Yeah. I mean, there's that bitterness and that resentment that comes also when we start to hold this idol in front of us, like this ideal that can become an idol in this case.
And you don't receive what is in front of you.
Yes. It just blocks you.
And that's what, when we were talking about it last night, I was like, it reminds me a lot of the older brother from the prodigal son.
Yeah.
And this is why I think his younger brother's like
an important character.
Yes, is an important character, because the younger brother goes, leaves, comes back, and then there's
receives the Medal of Honor. He's got the great job.
Yes, there's like,
but he's such a lovable character too.
Right.
Like he's not going out and like living the life of licentiousness either.
Right. But there is this level of like resentment around the sacrifice. And just being like, here was the older brother's issue. He couldn't see. He didn't have the eyes to see that everything that the father had was his too.
Yeah. Another movie that comes to mind, my favorite, when we talked about it, and when our episode about a year ago, when we went through our movies, and it's Field of Dreams, which Christopher West renamed that episode Field of Tears, because it was just like,
we couldn't stop.
Blinker. But there's at the end of that movie where this, the character Ray Kinsella has done all of this stuff. He's just been so obedient to this voice, and finally he says, "What's in it for me?" And there's this entitlement that can often come up where you've been living this life of self-sacrifice, and we have this nagging thought, what's in it for me?
When do I get mine?
When do I get it? And the scripture that comes to mind, and Christ speaks to this, he knows this phenomenon will happen in our hearts. And he speaks to it when he says, "Who among you would say to your slave who has just come in from plowing and tending the sheep in the field, 'Come here at once and take your place at the table'? Would you not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me and put on your apron and serve me while I eat and drink? Later you may eat and drink.' Do you thank the slave for doing what was commanded? So you also, when you have done all that you were ordered to do, say, 'We are worthless slaves. We have done only what we ought to have done.'" And what he's doing, he's speaking to this thought that, first of all, if I obey God, then I'm going to be elevated to this place of prominence. And he's like, no, you're going to stay a servant.
That's how we treat our slaves. Yeah.
And to just put on this mindset that I'm not doing anything great. I'm only doing what's been commanded of me. I'm merely, and I'm doing it with the gifts that I haven't even generated for myself, that have been given to me.
Yeah.
And there's something about letting go of that element of entitlement, letting go of that ideal, even of something that you think you deserve or that you've merited of your own, working, that opens the door to receive what is truly good and receive what the Lord wants to give to you. And that's where Clarence comes into the story, George's guardian angel, and really intervenes at that moment where George is thinking about ending it all, and just starts to show him. He gives him a glimpse of really what life would look like had George not made all of those sacrifices. His brother having died, and all the people that his brother saved in the world, all of those people died because Harry wasn't there to shoot down the plane that was about to fly into that ship. His wife being an old maid, his kids not being born, the house that they built being in shambles, the building of loan being, shut down, all of these people that they made homes for being bitter and resentful and drunks on the street, the town itself falling into, just kind of a disrepair and licentiousness and just being a Potterville, right? As they call these things. And this miser being the one that's sucking the joy and the life out of this town. You got Potter. He's another big character, right? That's there is just the this figure of the enemy. And the moment and George is just so resistant, he holds on to his bitter story so long until the moment that he sees that his kids are gone. And in that moment, and like where they have that close-up moment of his face, and you can see his face being so distraught. And it's a moment that Clarence says to him, "You see, George, you really had a wonderful life." And all George can say is, Mary, where's my wife? Where's my wife? Where's that constant figure that has grounded me, that I've lost, and I have no idea who I am without this, without her. And he finds her as an old maid, and it's just, and that's the moment where he realizes that he's like, I want to rescue my bride. And that's his turning point. And that's where he runs to the bridge and he just prays and prays. And that moment where he says, please, God, you see the snow start falling again. And he says, I want to live again. And he's back. And you know he's a changed man because nothing has changed. His circumstances haven't changed. The potential scandal, the fact that all this money was lost. I mean, we skipped over some of the details here. Go watch the movie. All the money is lost. None of that has changed. When he gets home, he just runs home and he's just full of joy. And he's just, he gets home and he just wants to kiss his kids and he wants to kiss his wife. And
that little thing at the end of the stairs that always falls off. He like kisses it. Yeah, this sign of like the dilapidated house in his life and everything that's broken and imperfect in his life. He just kisses it and honors it and reverences it. And even like met by the warrant, the person that's got the warrant for his arrest, he just says, "Isn't that great? I'm going to jail." Like it doesn't matter anymore. Because he wants to live again.
Because he's alive and his family's alive and his wife is alive and they know him. And it's just beautiful, like so beautiful.
Yeah, just to wrap up that whole thing, it's like really the shift that happens is not like, I don't have all these things. Like he's not thinking that anymore. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. This is happening to me. This is happening to me. Is really like that reception of life, like that reception of being like, and in gratitude.
And he receives all the money that comes in
from
all the people that he's helped. These poor souls that are just waiting to reciprocate all the sacrifice that he's given for them.
Yes. And I think that is the piece. So if I were to be coaching George Bailey, I'd be like, what are we grateful for? Like imagine if you didn't exist, like what, like all the people that would be affected by that, but also like, what are you grateful for? Because gratitude immediately starts to remove any source of entitlement. It also makes you open to receive more. Because that was like the older brother's issue. He was blind. He didn't see what the Father had for him. But also, and because he was blind, he was led to like resentment and bitterness. But when he like actually was like, what have you given me? That gratitude actually makes him be able to receive.
Yeah. He steps into the full legacy of the Father. At the end, like he suddenly has the eyes of his Father to see everything. And they're all there and they're just singing. They're just singing Christmas hymns and it's just beautiful. Like the guy tears up the warrant, right, and throws it away, and it's like the bondage is the shackles, the imprisonment. He's no longer imprisoned anymore. I sold it at jukebox, George. Oh man, you got a little weepy there, a little whoopee.
A little whoopee cushion.
A little weepy there too. What was going on in you? What right at the moment of where he cried out Mary?
Yeah. Well, it was, It kind of moves us into my story, actually.
Yeah.
Because what I love about both of these stories too, and I want to say this, is I guess I don't know, if they were both like written today, they'd be like sci-fi because if it's like, obviously you wouldn't be able to just be like, remove yourself from this town and like, And with the Christmas Carol, it's like there's ghosts coming, showing you your past, present, and future. So it's a little fantasy type. But what I love about both of them is they're both such perspective shifts, and they happen internally. These perspectives happen internally. Nothing has changed. Nothing outside of them has changed. It's just you somehow know a little bit more. Not like in a form of like Gnosticism, like this hidden knowledge, but like the Lord has given you some type of like that gift of knowledge of knowing more, you know?
And your stony heart is cast aside and you receive that heart of flesh that grows 3 sizes that day.
Right.
Boom.
Right. Okay. So the Christmas Carol. It's about Ebenezer Scrooge, this miserly, cold-hearted old man who hates Christmas, says bah humbug, and cares only about money. Okay. So that is the story. If you don't know it, go watch it. There's like,
and it's
the Disney version, the Muppets version, like just go pick one.
Bill Murray version.
Bill Murray.
Yeah. It's just a guy that is, his life is just full of idols. He lives everything for this side of heaven. He doesn't necessarily even consider the afterlife. And people are means to an end.
Yes.
Everybody around him is just a means to an end. It's a life of objectification and usury.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So key characters, there's kind of quite a few of them. Yeah. Because we are exploring all of Ebenezer's life. So we have Ebenezer Scrooge, guy I already told you about. Jacob Marley. He's the first ghost that comes to him. But he's also Scrooge's former business partner. Yep. So he's the first one to kind of give him perspective. Yep. Then we have the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future, or of yet to come, if you're reading the old version of it. Bob Cratchit, this is Scrooge's underpaid and overworked employee, but very kind.
He's the constant figure. He's one of the constant figures in the story. Yep. So
is his nephew, Fred. Yep. Also is another constant. Yep. But the funny thing is about Bob and Fred, which is his nephew, Fred is his nephew, they're both kind and cheerful. Like they're both like, come on, uncle or whatever. Come on,
Where Fred is like always rooting for him.
Yes.
He's always inviting him to the stuff, even though he says no all the time.
And he doesn't take offense to it. Yep. We have Tiny Tim. Yep. We have Tiny Tim, which is Cratchit's youngest son, who is sickly and frail. And then we had, I like this one, Fezziwig, which was Scrooge's first boss, who is very generous.
Yeah, and he really is the Fezziwig is a character that shows what a person that works to live rather than lives to work.
Lives in abundance and generosity too. Yeah. Yep. And then we have Belle, which is Scrooge's former fiance. Okay. So there's a lot of themes throughout this entire story, and I was wondering, why do I love it so much? It's a story about redemption. The entire time it's about redemption. Nobody is beyond redemption. If you are alive, if you're living here, like, God still has mercy for you. Praise God for that. You can change your way. And the entire story is a conversion story. So there is like one point, like the major point that happens. I'm not getting there yet, but throughout the entire time, it's just this like
a softening of the heart.
A softening of the heart.
Yeah,
yes.
Little by little.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is a model for us, even walking with somebody else through conversion.
Oh my gosh, yes. Especially that hardness of heart, which is like really common today. I feel like this is also a part that everybody can relate to, because we all have a little bit of Scrooge in us. I'm just saying, like, if you have like a tiny bit of a hardness of heart,
scarcity
if you
mindset.
sin, if you have attachments to anything of this world of any sort, if you self-protect, you got a little bit of Scrooge in you, and that's okay. That's good news, because we have
there's a redemption.
Yes.
There's a redemption at the end of that.
We have a redeemer. there's compassion. Like this is another thing, was like compassion, charity, also this like social responsibility, because when Dickens wrote this story, it was a very like a time of poverty, major poverty in England. And so there was like a little bit of that theme going on there, like, hey, generosity, and everybody wins when somebody's generous, you know? This is my favorite part about it. Actually, these last two are my favorite themes about this story, but memory, reflection, and self-examination. So this story, in story form with ghosts and all this like crazy stuff, is literally, it's an example of Ignatian discernment. So we have all of the ghosts that represent bringing him to the Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future. They're all representing different elements of his story, but also this form of discernment. Okay. They know that Scrooge has a hard heart, and they know that we have to send 3 ghosts. No, 4 ghosts. Bob Marley is, I'm not Bob Marley. Sorry, Jacob Marley.
Yep.
Bob Marley is the reggae singer.
Hey, Scrooge!
We'll do my R
Come
version.
to me! Terrible.
No.
What you doing, man?
Yes.
Fix your life.
Yeah.
I'm done.
So Bob Marley is not his former business owner. His former business partner. It is Jacob Marley. But so there's 4 ghosts that come to him. The ghost of Christmas past and showing him his past really represents healing, coming from knowing, acknowledging wounds, and seeing the origins of habit. All right, I'm going to get into each one of those and how they kind of represent different elements of that.
Yep. Each one of like those things you just named. Okay.
Yeah, because throughout Scrooge's life, it's like especially on this one night where all these ghosts are showing him all these like stories, they take him to the most prominent stories, like the brokenness.
Yeah. Or the time where he made a really pivotal choice.
Yes.
Yep.
He chose something. And that's part of like the cracking of the hardened heart, right?
Yeah. They go to those memories. So let's explore.
Yes. And I think one of my favorite things about coaching, side note, is when we allow the Lord to show us what memories are coming up, like that he wants to bring us to. Sometimes we're like, well, that's not that big of a deal or whatever. And then there's usually tears, just so you know. So like there's some type of healing that happens. The Lord wants to give you a different perspective. I've just seen the Lord show up in all of these elements. He's not a ghost. He is the Holy Ghost, but I've seen him show up in a very similarly in like even my own coaching, receiving my own coaching, but also my own journaling and prayer. Yep. So that's why I love it as like a reflection of like an examine prayer or some type of Ignatian discernment. And I remember there's a scene that comes to mind when he's with the ghost of Christmas past, and it's the final memory that he takes him to. And that's the first one where George is like, or not George, done with that Scrooge.
one. Ebenezer Scrooge is just like, oh, please don't take me to this one. He knows where they're going.
Yes.
And it's the moment when he said goodbye to Belle.
Yeah.
And when you think of the name Belle, it means beauty. It was the moment that he closed the door to beauty in his life.
Yes. And like softness of his heart. Yeah.
And how often is beauty the gateway into conversion?
Yeah.
Right. But here we see it's by closing ourselves to beauty, it's a gateway to a hardness of heart.
Yes. And then we have the present, which is really just like a reality check. Yeah. Of being like, this is what's happening right now that you may not know. So like what else might be happening? Because you have hyper focus on like your money, right? Whatever.
This is the soda straw, right?
Yeah.
Like let's take a look at more of reality
and
that's going on.
Let's also see how your decisions are affecting others too. And like, what is that?
What are the fruits?
The decisions of the past. And now, right, how is that playing out in front of you? And then finally we have the future, which is this sobering vision of the trajectory of if you don't change, like what is going to happen if you don't change? So if we could turn these into discernment questions, it's what happened in the past? Why are these habits here? Right? What else is happening, Lord? Show me, expand me, right? And
what are the ripple effects of my habits right now?
Yes. In the present, what is happening? What are the ripple effects of that? But also, what do I not know is happening?
Broaden my perspective.
That you want to show me. And then finally is if I keep going down this path, what is like this inevitable future?
Yeah. Give me the virtue of foresight.
Yes. Yep. So I love that theme. And I'm going to go back to the breaking down the hardness of heart.
Literally what we teach in the reason cycle.
I know. Isn't that crazy? It's also using the faculties of your mind properly.
Yeah.
Like that's like using your imagination, using your memory, using your cogitative power, which is like how to make decisions right now or snap judgments right now. All right. Finally, the final theme of this that I really, really love is time is a gift and hope for renewal. Okay. Scrooge receives this priceless gift of time to repent and change. But how good is our Lord that like at the moment of our death, he still comes to us. I don't know if that's like actual dogma, but I know it's been revealed through a lot of saints. Do you know if it is? If it's like doctrine?
At the time of our death, the Lord comes to us? Well, like it's the final judgment. I mean, we're certainly like our particular judgment. Yes, you will stand face to face with God, and that is when you'll be held to account.
He still gives us that chance. Okay, so then after seeing, but then also after George, I almost said George.
To clarify, everything leading up to that particular judgment is time that you can use. But once you're at the particular judgment, I've never been there.
Yeah.
But like, that's just where you're there. Like there's no time left to amend. Right. And so the gift of time is really meant so that you'll embrace repentance.
Yeah.
That's the real gift of it.
But would you be able to even like embrace that if you have a hard heart?
You know what? I mean, it's
just another question. Okay.
I don't want to bank on
that. Me neither.
I want to get my reps in for repentance on this side of heaven. So that's my default neural pathway when I'm at my particular judgment.
That's right.
By God's grace.
So you're taking this lesson from Ebenezer Scrooge and you're like, I'm going to take every moment of every day to repent and change.
Metanoia.
That metanoia. But also I think after he saw this like really bleak future, and that it wasn't this pronouncement of doom. It wasn't like, this is inevitable. It was more of an invitation. What do you choose now? Okay. So you're seeing so much of like coaching in all of this, like all the questions that we ask during coaching. It's like, okay, so now that you know this, now that you know that this thought is leading you here, or now that you know that this habit is leading you here, what do you want to choose moving forward? Yeah.
What's beautiful about the way that Dickens captures the ghost of Christmas future is that ghost doesn't speak at all.
I know.
All it does is show visions. And one of the questions that Scrooge asks is like, okay, are these things that are absolutely going to happen or just possible things? And he doesn't answer. And so it's really left for Scrooge to kind of, like it's not until Scrooge wakes up and he sees that he's not dead, he's still alive, that he's like, oh, okay, I can use this time. Like it doesn't have to be certain. You know, I haven't missed it. He opens the windows and looks outside. It's Christmas. I haven't missed it.
Yes.
I haven't missed the opportunity to receive the Christ child into my life, to receive just the transformation of heart. I haven't missed it.
The hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where prior to that, with this hardness of heart, he was just missing it.
Yeah. He was missing it.
Yeah.
I think that's actually like kind of the theme of today. It's like this blindness, missing what is in front of you, missing the joy and the hope that was in front of you. So really what I was talking about before is Scrooge, his transformation is slowly happening. It's like a melting of an icy heart, or a cracking, like we're trying to break through. But at that moment when he actually sees, so the final like when the ghost of Christmas future comes and he sees that nobody's at his grave, Tiny Tim is dead. Like, I mean, it is very, very bleak. It's like people are mocking his grave and all of this stuff and nobody's there. And he's like, okay, like that is that metanoia moment, but it's all these other little perspective shifts that lead up to that. He can't just go there. Like, imagine if the ghost of Christmas future came first, it'd be like, I had a terrifying nightmare and I've learned nothing, you know, like, but now it's like, there's a whole story leading up to this. So he begs for like he admits he needs to change. He repents, metanoia.
Yep.
He begs for mercy, commits to a new life, changes his direction, and makes a firm resolution for the future. However, the first crack happens on his, so that was like where the shift actually happened. But that first crack happened when he went to the past. Actually, I would say the first crack happens when Marley, not Bob Marley, when Jacob Marley comes to him and kind of gives him this like wake up call. He's like, this is where a life of selfishness leads you. You are going to be in chains, which doesn't give him any like compassion, but it's like more conviction. It's like that first little shift that happens. And then we have the stirring of compassion, which is the ghosts of Christmas past. Two major moments soften him. The first one is when he sees his lonely childhood. He sees like, oh, these are the habits that started because I was always trying to protect myself. I always wanted, like, think about when somebody's lonely. They want to be they want to be in communion. They want to be closer to somebody. But so often when loneliness is not addressed, and we pick up these habits of self-protection, we actually create more loneliness in our lives. We don't get the thing that we want, right? Which is like to be in community with others. So, and then you already spoke to this, but it was seeing Belle and then breaking off the engagement because of these habits he had already established. This greed, this like, I need to work for myself, this ungodly self-reliance.
Self-protection.
Yep. Just kind of buffering himself with material things, with
justifying himself.
But this stage is really heartbreak. Like, you know, you said, it's like, oh, please don't show me this. Don't. Like, he knew, like, I don't even want to go back there. I don't want to reflect on this. But then there is a form of honesty that needs to happen when you look back in your past. But he still hasn't committed to change. He's like, all right, what's next? You know, and then we have the ghost of Christmas present, who I love. This one is just so
sanguine,
so full of joy. And it's just like, eat, like
just big and eating. And
maybe
happy.
maybe I'm thinking of the Muppets one, but it's just like all this food and he's like huge. But this is like where that genuine compassion starts to really break down those barriers of his heart.
Well, it also like the whole smorgasbord, which is, you know, that's Dickens, right? That has all this food. It's just like there's such rich opportunities available to us for grace in the present moment.
In the present.
Grace is available to us. Plentiful grace is available to us in the present moment.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was Saint Therese. I might be butchering this, but I know it was a saint who said, Lord, give me all of the graces that other people have rejected. And then I don't know if I added this myself or if this is her, but it was like also all the graces that I have rejected in the past right now. So like, what a great, like that, it makes me think of that. Just like, it's still accessible to you. You can, I mean,
It's even St. Catherine Laboure, right? With the miraculous medal was revealed to her, and there were certain streams that were dim coming out of our Blessed Mother, and these were the graces that were offered but rejected.
Yes. Yeah. So there's so much, there's an abundance that is offered to us in the present moment. So often we're focused on the past and the future. You know, when we're focused on the past, we're depressed or we're self-protecting or
not me.
or if we're focused on the future, we're, in anxiety.
Yep.
But when you're in the present, and this is so easy for me to go there because I am high adaptability and strengths. And like, that is like your superpower when you're highly adaptable, you can be in the present. But anyway, so this kind of starts to open up this compassion in him. He sees the Cratchit family. He sees Tiny Tim. He has this tenderness towards this little boy who's sick and frail. And really, like, he starts to notice this growing shame as he sees ignorance, like, and wants this state. He wants to help. He sees his own ignorance.
Well, Tiny Tim, he's just so pathetic.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the right words, but like, he's also just a beautiful model of receptivity.
Yes.
Like, of just
joyful receptivity. Just like he's the one who says, can we please bless and thank Mr. Scrooge, like
for the feast.
For this feast. Yeah.
He's just like, there's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it moves him.
Yep. All throughout it, it's like, I feel like Tiny Tim is like the greatest character of modeling how to be a human. Okay. So that was the Ghost of Christmas Present. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. So this is more charity awakening, but it isn't full repentance yet. Okay. So like, he's kind of moving through this process. And then finally, this moment of true conversion is the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, or the Ghost of Christmas Future. And this is that pivotal moment where it's like the future is shaped by the choices he has made. And this is like people mocking his death. I already talked about this, Tiny Tim's death, but also his own abandoned grave. And then this brings in that fear plus sorrow plus clarity of being like, wow, choices I make actually do impact others and also impact my future and all this stuff, right? And then he openly decides to really like change his life. And this is his metanoia moment, this moment.
Yeah. Just hearing you kind of break it out like this, it's almost it's an image of the particular judgment, like the whole reflection showing what's happened in your life and the opportunities that you're missing out on right now, the rejection of graces, where you ultimately end up, the ripple effects. Like it sounds a lot like these people that have had experienced what they call the illumination of conscience.
Yeah,
where it's almost like, here they're gifted supernaturally with a kind of a glimpse of their particular judgment, or the fullness of their particular judgment, and a knowledge of where they would go if they were to have died today.
Yeah.
And then, or it's a near-death experience, something like that.
Yep.
And so often a lot of those people will amend their life from that point, and it'll be a real transformation. And so here it's like the Lord can intervene in very supernatural ways, like he does with Ebenezer Scrooge, or with those people that have that experience of that illumination of conscience. But from an ordinary sense, we've got that opportunity to every single day, with the gift of self-reflection, which is what's modeled in this story, to get to the point where we don't have to, it doesn't have to be such an extreme intervention that the Lord needs to do. And he doesn't have to do, right?
Yeah.
That's an extraordinary actual grace.
Yep.
Right. Especially if you're in a place of outside of a relationship with the Lord, where we're not entitled to actual grace or any sort of intervention from God once we have sinned mortally and we've walked away from a relationship with him. So it doesn't have to get to that point. We can just kind of use our, like St. Ignatius says, have that nightly examination experience where you are kind of like the Ghost of Christmas Present, examining your past and even saying, okay, how do I want to amend my life in the future, and having that gift of foresight of how you want to, the resolutions that you want to have going forward. There's such hope in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love, I really love how it's like such an example of like just reflection and like the joy of reflection and like gratitude, really just being like, wow, I'm so grateful that I get to do this every day.
Yep.
I could do this every day. I don't have to be like Ebenezer Scrooge this one time where these like ghosts come to me. Please, ghosts, do not come to me. I could do this in my journal.
I can wake up every morning, open the windows and
Yeah.
say, I haven't missed it. You know,
Yes.
Christmas is here. Like the opportunity to make Christ incarnate in the world is here in my heart. It's here. Every day it can be Christmas. I know it sounds cheesy, but that's really the call of the Christian life is to make Christ's body visible in and through our own bodies here and now in the present moment.
Which brings me to the final thing. And I think this actually covers with George Bailey and Ebenezer Scrooge, where they were both similarly kind of taken out of like the reality that they were living in and like, hey, look at it from this angle. Look at it from this angle. Like there was that perspective shift, but also how do you know if the transformation has happened? Right. And we can do this with ourselves too. But in Scrooge's, in his situation, we know because he wakes up, it's Christmas morning. What does he do? He doesn't go, oh, that was a weird dream. And then like go right back into his old habits, which is a choice, by the way. He could have done that. Don't feel like because you have this major, massive shift, because I have to remind myself this too. When I have a great prayer session, then the next day I like forget it. So sometimes we have to go back and like remind ourselves and read it. But what does he do? He immediately acts. He doesn't even put clothes on. Like he's still wearing his dress. It's
His
dress.
nightgown.
But he sends a turkey to the Cratchits. He donates generously. All these people come back to him. He's like, here, gives them all the money. The people who he had rejected before.
Oh, it's literally like Zacchaeus, you know, after Christ encounters him at his home, and he says, I'm going to restore everything that I've extorted. I'm going to give it back fourfold.
Yep.
You know, all of half my possessions, I'm giving them away. Like there's the transformation in his heart is made visible in and through his actions.
Yes. And that's how you know if a transformation has happened. He also reconciles with Fred, his nephew. He raises Bob's salary. He becomes like another father to Tiny Tim. You can see and we talked about what happened with George Bailey. And like, so when we are kind of going through this transformation, these metanoia moments, this repentance, this conversion of heart, to start noticing, how am I showing up differently? And even to show up differently, sometimes we do need to act first and make that decision. Like he could have been like, hold on, young man, like down there. He didn't have to yell from his window and be like, go buy a turkey and throw your money out the window. He could have been like, like put his clothes on.
Well, let me think about this.
Yeah.
What's the prudent response that I should have? It's like,
Right.
Maybe I should just kind of like sit in this for like a day or a week or something like that and see if it sticks. Because this could just be me being impulsive.
Yes. We can get in our own heads about it and like actually ruminate away our transformation.
Yep.
So, let's not do that. And let's just kind of like own it and start acting in it.
Yeah. I love it.
That's it.
Love it. We were going to do Christmas Story and Elf and Scrooged and Christmas Vacation.
Scrooged is the same one as this.
Well, yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, it is. But like, and folks, you could do this work with all the great stories that are out there, and you just see something beautiful in it. You know, even I can't help but think of the Grinch, right?
Oh,
as a model, you know, of Scrooge, right? The transformation that takes place. And it's okay. It's okay that these stories don't necessarily have an original message.
Yeah.
Right. There's just one story. And each one of these is just a facet of the greatest story that's ever told. And we delight it because we were made for it, to receive it, to enter into it, to embody it. And there's so much purpose and meaning that's in it. And on the flip side, when we reject it, when we turn away from it, when we fail to have eyes to see it taking place around us, we're left in a place of bitterness, miserly, misery.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What has shifted for you that you're going to apply from like just discussing?
Oh, wow. That puts me on the spot.
Yeah. Sorry.
Short answer is I don't know. Like the melancholic of me is coming forward right now. And it's just like, you know what? I just want to sit with it. Cause like there were even like going through this, like guys, when I type up podcasts, sometimes I'm holding back tears because there's something so, especially when it's about movies, there's something so beautiful in these things, and it's sublime. And when I say with that, it's like there's something so tender that it's hard to capture into words what's going on, but it's very powerful and real. So I'm not sure, but I'm just going to sit with it.
I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just going to ask the Lord to give me eyes to see like what I'm missing right now, so I can be grateful for it. And like, cause I feel like that's
a beautiful prayer.
That's kind of covers both of them, but I do like, hey, like acting as if there's like the ghosts of Christmas past, ghosts of Christmas present, and like using those 3 questions that I said earlier. So I might do that for journaling.
I'll do that too.
Cool.
Yeah. Where do I empathize right now? Really with George, right? At this point in my life. And cool.
Yeah.
All right, folks, have a Merry Christmas and hope you enjoyed this one. And if you're watching this after Christmas, you got 8 days to celebrate. So happy octave of Christmas. Like and subscribe. See you next time. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.